everyone, it's Tanny Games here. Welcome back to Disney Dreamlight Valley. Now, this is kind of like a special request video thanks to Strawberry Blonde from the Discord. Now, I have heard this update Star Path is quite easy, but we do know that we have had challenging Star Paths before in the past. We've had some easier, we've had some harder, and Strawberry Blonde actually kind of posed a question about the best way to kind of stack tasks, the best way to proceed through the star path whilst sort of maximizing the time you have, like if you're limited with time. So this is kind of like a run through on how I go through the star path to make it less stressful for me. Now, before I go into it, I do want to say there are things you can do to help yourself that I tend not to do, and that is go on Google and search articles on the star path. The tasks should be listed in many articles. I think IGN do articles and stuff like that. There's also the Disney Dreamlight Valley wiki, which posts the tasks. As soon as they get the data for the tasks from the game, that gets updated on the wiki. There are also apps you can use. Again, I think they take a bit of time to get updated because I think they wait for either the wiki to get updated or just wait till they make progress in the game to update their apps. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that, obviously, but I assume. And things like that. So you can use those tools to help guide you through the star paths a bit better. Knowing what comes can make things a bit easier, and I'll sort of get into that as we get to those tasks. But yeah, I'm going to kind of showcase what I do. So we're in the menu here for the Garden of Whimsy Star Path. We have a few tasks here to do, and you might be thinking, okay, so how do I stack this? How do I make this as easy as possible? Well, I will look at tasks and I'll see what things are likely to come up again, repeated, that are going to perhaps slow me down or things like that. So looking at this, initially I see this one here, which says give a villager their favourite gifts. Now, I know that in the Star Path, you usually get tasks to give a certain villager their gifts. So this task, I will immediately hold off on. I will not do. Obviously, if you have those guides, you can see which characters are coming up that you need to gift. So you can try and align them that way, but also it's a great way to know which characters not to gift or talk to, because you can go, okay, I know they're about to come up once I've done 3 or 4 tasks, so I'm going to go from there. So one of the easier tasks that I see here is this get crafty one. Now that's a really, really simple task. I love it when we get tasks like this. I'm going to go into my house. Now, my recommendation for things like this is to craft some where you get like multiple. So let me have a look. Now I'm like, what do we get multiples of? What do we get multiples of? Something like fiber. So for instance, if you have quite a bit of seaweed, you could use that. Another thing that I tend to do is things like paths. Paths and fences, you typically tend to get 3 to 4 pieces. So if that's something that you tend to need quite a lot of anyway, I think it's always worthwhile doing something like this. So there, I've made 4 of the brick road with borders. And then if I come out, there's my get crafty done. So that's done. And that is a task that I could repeat over and over again, and it wouldn't be too difficult. Now we have practice mindfulness, go fish, and tackle royal tasks. These are ones that, again, I think would be quite easy to do. Along with this uproot night fawns, that's usually one I do anyway. Because as part of my prep for updates, I usually let my night fawns build up so that I've got tons of them. You get about 10 night fawns spawn a day anyway, so you should be fine to do this very, very easily. I'll try and get night fawns that are kind of got a bit of space around them, because obviously we do have the thing where you get the explosion, and sometimes if you have a very decorated valley or things like that, it can be quite frustrating because you'll get that explosion and then you won't be able to get all the coins. And for me, that annoys me because I like to do that because that's how I sometimes get extra items that I haven't perhaps got in the Scrooge store yet, or things like that. So I think it can be quite helpful. So this is one that's fairly easy to do. There you go, see, we got that explosion of coins. So we'll get this done. There we go, and there's our chest. So we've done that. Oh, it only gave us a coin anyway. Such a shame. Okay, so there's our uproot night thorns. One thing I would say as well, just because I know it's there because I've done it, one thing that I would do at this point, if I knew a certain duty was going to come up, so if you have got the guides, so in this star path, I know there's the task to harvest canola and cotton. So if you have an app, what you can do, even before you're at that stage, you can set up like a section like this with a bunch of like holes and stuff like that, and have it ready so that when that task comes up, the stuff is already grown. So the cotton that you need, the canola that you need, if you've already planted it, when that task shows up, you're going to know. So again, this is why having things like the apps or reading those articles, or there's even content creators out there that do guide videos, but usually they're done after the creators have done the star paths themselves, so they're not always in the best time. I know those creators rush hard to get those videos out, so this isn't meant as a dig, just more of a like, obviously if you're trying to rush through it on the first day, there's going to be a bit of a thing. But yeah, you can use those as information anyway. Cupcake is Gaming does a wonderful star path video every update. I watch hers religiously whenever they come out. Even if I've done the star path myself, I'll still watch her videos. I'll still watch them. So that's just a little heads up of a tip of something you can do. Now, going on to here, okay, spend time with a villager. I'll just grab whoever's closest, Mushu, Merlin, whatever. Just let's hang out. Just grab anyone there, and then you can keep him with you whilst you're doing other tasks. Now, I have to do royal tasks, and there's other things I need to do here, like fishing and cooking. So I'll have a look here and see if there's anything that can be tied up. So, for instance, I need to get 3 fish from the Frosted Heights. So if I do that, that will count towards my go fish, and it will also count towards my tackle royal tasks. So these are things that you want to kind of look at. It's kind of all in the preparation in a sense, like kind of taking note of things you can do at the same time to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. That's what I generally try and do. One thing I would say is sometimes with these tasks, be aware, sometimes when they say to fish, it needs you to get actual fish and not seafood, which again can be kind of limiting. If you're fishing on Dazzle Beach or in the Glade, I find the Glade is quite hard when it comes up with a task to like fish specifically for fish, because too often you get like squid and stuff like that and they count as seafood. Same with the lobster. So just be aware of that. Another little tip as well that I can recommend is sometimes just fishing outside of bubbles. You'll either get seaweed or you'll get a fish. So again, that can be really helpful if you are trying to get those fish and there's no bubble spawning, because that happens often for me if I've been fishing a lot. Sometimes there won't be any bubbles, like if it's like catch 15 fish in the Glade. It can be a bit annoying. And always clear these off. If you are doing this tackle royal task, clear these off as soon as possible, because you might find another task comes up that lines up with something else that you're doing, kind of thing. So I definitely recommend it. Obviously it wants some spices, so I'm just going to pick these up whilst I'm here because they're nearby. Again, just kind of utilizing what's around you to the best of your ability to kind of get as many things as possible. It wants 3 decorations in the Frosted Heights. We're right here, so again, just a case of placing down what you can. What have I ever got? Anything that I've got lots of? Another thing you can do, by the way, I went into decor there, but going into things like trees will count as well. So that's another good thing. Or if you've got trees already in that biome, you can copy those trees over. That's something I usually tend to do as well. When it comes to the feeding of the critters, I usually try and wait until there's a critter specific that comes up, because then again you can kind of get two birds with one stone. You get the feed the critter task done, and you've fed a specific critter which will have that done. Um, this here says prepare a 2-star meal or better. This says bring a friend their favorite gift. So for instance, if we had I believe it comes up that we have to give gifts to Wally. Um, so that would count for the villager and their favourite gifts. It would count for gifting to a robot. But then it also counts to bring a friend their favourite gift. And if he wanted a meal, which he doesn't because he's a robot, but you could prepare that meal and that would tick off so many. So this is how you kind of stack tasks as best as possible, even at this kind of early stage, and things like that. So that's what I generally tend to do. I don't know if I've actually got a mineral on me. We'll have a look. I don't know what's in my inventory. Okay, we've got a coal ore. I think that does count as a mineral. It does indeed. Serve a meal in the restaurant. There we go. So I would go into the restaurant. I'd find someone who wants a 2-star meal, and I'd do that. But I'm going to leave that for now, because I should get some... There we go. Work a shift at either restaurant. So again, kind of knowing that you get restaurant tasks, wait until that shows up can be really, really helpful. Because like I said, you're kind of... 2 birds and 1 stone. That's what we say. 2 birds and 1 stone. These poor birds. These poor birds. I'm trying to get through this as quick as possible because I don't want this video to go on too long, but I know some of it might be helpful for, like, if I cover more stuff as I get to it. So there might be a big jump cut at some point. I do want to talk briefly right now about how when it comes to doing the star path, what I try in each day is get it to the point that I've kind of done the max I can do for that day. So basically there isn't anything else I can work on, because for instance all the tasks are to give villager gifts and you've given them all gifts, so you have to wait for the next day for it to reset, for instance. That is something that I do try and do as well. But obviously if you have a limited time play kind of system, then just do as much as you can during that time. But what I would say is, if you're going to log off for the day, it'd be really nice if I had a Daisy Boutique option here. But let's say this said Daisy Boutique. Let's say this said that. I would always try and make sure that I finish the day doing the Daisy Boutique challenge. Anything that resets daily, that you have to wait the next day to kind of complete or continue to work on, do those at the very last minute. So I will work on this star path for ages, and if there's a Daisy Boutique challenge, I will ignore it till I know I'm getting off for the day. And when I have to get off for the day, I will quickly run into Daisy's, do the boutique challenge and end it there. Now obviously what I would try and do is have it so that I've got more than one Daisy boutique at a time, but sometimes you're not going to have that. So in that case, just still do the Daisy boutique. Don't wait, don't delay. Still do the Daisy boutique, because it means the next day when you continue working on the star path and you get a second challenge pop up for Daisy's boutique, when you do the Daisy boutique at the end of the following day, you are then going to have one of those completed and 1 on 1 out of 2, for instance. So that is definitely something I recommend. I'm sorry if this is really confusing. I am hoping that it's kind of helpful. But again, it's kind of one of those things that star paths do take a bit of time. So trying to condense this into one very short video isn't that easy, actually. It's quite tricky to kind of go over. I don't even know. Oh, my fruits are up there. Again, this is another thing. I think probably Senpai did a video on this ages ago. He has his valley set up. I assume he still does. I know he had it set up. So that he basically had almost like star path specific areas. There was basically a giant orchard where he had his fruit. He had a couple of chests. He had spaces for harvesting crops, for planting crops and things like that. That can also be really helpful if you have a structured setup for your valley. just to make it a bit easier. So I've got all my trees pretty much here. So it does mean that when I have to come and harvest fruit, I come to one spot. I'm not wandering around trying to find where my apple trees are. So I know it can be very aesthetic to put all the trees together in one spot. I do appreciate that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I did make a mistake there, by the way. I did make a mistake there. We'll talk on that in a second. But yeah, like that is something you can do, is kind of have things more set up and established, and it will make things a bit easier, a bit smoother. Now, in regards to what I messed up there, I finished off a couple of Dreamlight duties. What I should have done is held off, because then when I get a new task which says finish Dreamlight tasks, if they're already done, they only count in this section once you've ticked them off and claimed them. So I shouldn't have done that. That is something I usually don't try to do, but I think because I'm talking at the same time as trying to record this video, it kind of, sometimes your wires get a bit crossed and you forget what you're doing. So that is something that I would say. Just bear that in mind. Try not to do that. Try and hold off claiming any Dreamlight duty tasks until it comes up in your game to actually do that specifically. Just as a little heads up. That's a smarter way of doing things. That is a smarter way of doing things. Okay, so we've done our go fish. I don't know why when I press P now, it always brings me into the description and it doesn't bring me into the duty section. It really annoys me. So it wants us to mine precious gems with a royal tool, practice mindfulness. We're going to do this, and that's, both of them are going to get ticked off in one go, which is going to be really, really helpful. So I'm just going to do a quick bit of mining. I will either edit it or speed it up, because this might take a little minute. You know, as I said, the star paths do still take time, and condensing this into a very short video is quite difficult. So let me just fast forward in the video for you. Okay, so we've done quite a few of the tasks. So I did the mining of the gems and stuff like that. So it is helping us progress through. Now, you'll see here I have delight a robot with his favourite gifts, and we still have the give a villager their favourite gifts task. So if we get Wally 3 of his favourite gifts, that will complete this task, and then this task will be done as much as I can do for today. But that again, just kind of, it helps the process along. That's almost 2 tasks done by doing one activity effectively. So that's what you kind of need to do in order to stack tasks the best way. Sometimes the best thing you can do is hold off on doing a task before doing the task. it sounds very complicated, but trust me, once you've done it a few times, it's not. And most star paths are very, very predictable. A lot of the star paths you can kind of easily gather what's going to come up, what's going to show, what you need to do and things like that. So it's something that you tend to get used to a lot. There's like, star paths are very formulaic. Like sometimes things might be a bit different. You might have slightly different characters you've got to interact with and stuff like that. But generally speaking, a lot of the tasks are usually the same each star path. It's just, like I said, just the order and things like that. So you can usually try and hold off on certain tasks, as I said, just to kind of make the most of certain things so that you're not kind of locking yourself out of doing something. So as I said, if I'd have done that, you know, looking after or giving gifts to villagers, and I'd accidentally already gifted to Wally, then I would not be able to do that right now. So that's why sometimes it's better holding off. Or as I said, if you have those guides, if you have those apps that you read through first of all, they can be so helpful, because they really stop you from getting yourself in that position effectively, which is what you want to do. So I've got my emerald, I've got my chili. What was the other thing he wanted? I do forget these things. I do have to check and stuff like that and go back in. Okay, he wanted a pink bromeliad. I should have grabbed that whilst we were in the sunlit. when I got that chili pepper, but we'll do that now. And then we just need to find out where Wally is. Oh, he's here. He's here. Hi, Wally. Don't run away. Don't go too far. We need you. We need you. Okay, now I just have to find... Okay, there's one round here. Okay, and we'll have to come back up to the sunlit, actually, for my next thing. I mean, we don't have to, actually, but I see a lot of things here that might be useful. So, Wally was down here. But where did he go? Where did he come from? Where did he go? Oh, he's heading into the glade. Okay.
This is your dream, you know.
So he's here. I'll just push him out the way so I'll make sure I talk to him and not Beast. Okay, so we're gonna... I have something to give you. We'll give him the gifts. Also, sometimes when it comes to doing the Dreamlight duties, so not necessarily for the Star Path, but you'll get a task to give a villager gifts. Those ones you can just give them generic gifts a lot of the time. You don't have to give them their favourite gifts. So I would just give them whatever you've got on hand. Like, if you've got a bunch of apples, give them a bunch of apples. Like, you don't necessarily have to do the favourites. It's only when it specifies favourite gifts that you have to give favourite gifts. So just bear that in mind. Sometimes you can... get yourself doing more tasks than needed. So yeah, you'll see here, I don't have any Dreamlight duty things, but these are here. I'm going to hold off on clicking these so that when another Dreamlight duties task pops up in here, I can then claim them and they'll count for that. So the next thing that I want to do, because obviously this Delight a Robot with his favourite gifts is kind of done with, is the open up fresh memories. Now this is something I recommend prepping for potentially. The fresh memories is something that crops up now in the Star Path. So it's worth doing. One thing you can do, if I come into my house here, is you can actually set up a room or on a floating island, just do a bunch of the same tasks. So in here, I was just cooking crackers or something like that. If you're on a floating island, you could do a bunch of like gardening and stuff. Anything just to spawn in these memories, and then you've got these to kind of keep for when you need them for that task. So that's something that I recommend as part of prep work. Usually I do a video on how to prep for the next update. I didn't get to do it this time around because obviously being away and stuff like that. But that is something that I do recommend nowadays, is to ensure you have memories. And part of how I do that as well is when I'm working on the Star Path, if I get these memories show up that pop up when I'm harvesting fruit, when I'm foraging, when I'm mining, I just leave them. I don't claim them. I don't collect them. Obviously, if you've got a stockpile of memories like in your house or a floating island, you can obviously keep your valley a lot cleaner than mine is. One place that I like to keep them is in the Vitalist mines. I just feel they're a bit out the way there, so that's definitely a good spot to leave any memories if you want. So this is one of those things, like I said, like sometimes to make Star Paths easier, you have to put in the effort before it even begins, because it just makes it so much easier. And this is one of those tasks, like getting the fresh memories, that usually I would say if you can to stack. But because I know I've got a lot of these fresh memories in the valley and stuff like that, I can just leave them and then come to them. I've got enough that if this task comes up again, I can complete it fairly easily. Okay, cook any 4-star meal. Now this is something I recommend setting up. I have it on my main account. I don't think I have it on this account, to be fair. I don't think I've done the task for it. I'm not sure, actually. But you can get a Tiana's slow cooker now if I come in here. And what I recommend you do is, if you're able to craft... Oh, hold on. Now I've got to find it. I don't even know if I've done it. I've probably not ever done it. I thought I had. I haven't done it. I haven't done the quest. Okay, if you do this quest this slow and steady quest with Tiana, which I haven't done, you get a slow cooker, which is a bit like the auto cookers if you have the Rift in Time DLC. And what I recommend doing is setting up 3 of these and having it cook 10 to 15 appetizers, entrees, and desserts. And you just leave them in there. And then when you get a task like this, which is cook any 4-star meal, if you've done 5-star, it will count for any of these tasks, basically. Anything that's under 5 stars, it will count for. So that will get it done automatically. But since we haven't done that, we're going to have to come in here and we'll just cook any sort of... You can do 4 stars. I always just go into 5-star. Was it any 5-star meal? So look, I don't even remember what the task. Yeah, any 4-star meal. So we'll just come in here and I'll type in 5-star. And then what I'll do is I'll look for something that I've potentially got a lot of ingredients of. Because I don't play on this account as often. As you can see, I'm kind of short on a lot of things. Which doesn't make it easy. It does make it a bit more challenging. So again, part of the prep work for Star Path is making sure you have resources, making sure you've got things for recipes and things like that, just so that you can kind of make them as you need them. See, I'm too short of that. I've not got enough garlic and things like that. Not got enough salad bits. So yeah, I've kind of really put myself into a corner here. Because of how little I have available to me to kind of make these. So I think we'll just go with the wedding cake. We'll go with the wedding cake. And we'll just do this 10 times. As I said, I could have looked for some 4 stars, which might have helped. But I just always do the 5 stars because it's easier. For me, it's just easier to know it's kind of done. So that's another thing that I do recommend there to make things easier. And like I said, if you've got the auto cookers, if you've got the slow cookers, it means when these tasks come up, you're all ready to go. You can just claim them and it's done. Oh, we've done this, so we can claim that. So it does want us to serve customers in Chez Remy. Now, this is something where I also think it's important to keep an eye on the time when you're playing. So at the moment it is, well, it's gone 10:30 p.m. for me. So I want to make sure before I do any of the other tasks that are sat there that I can do, I am going to rush over to Remy's right now. And I'm going to try and feed whoever's in here, because the Remy's will kind of almost reset hourly. You'll either gain or lose kind of villagers in here. It depends how many people you have unlocked, whether you've got DLCs and things like that. Now for me, I find that the peak times for characters in the restaurants is about 12 o'clock, sort of midday. And then also at around sort of 5 to 6 p.m. I tend to get a flurry of loads more customers then. So those tend to be the hours that, if possible, I would try and play at, so that I can kind of most likely align with how many people are in Remy's restaurant. So we are gonna feed these 2 here and get them done.
Everything okay?
So I have your order. There we go, that's Mulan level 10. I have your order. There we go. So now I know when I check in about 20 minutes, I should have... Either I'll have no one else extra in here because no one new comes in on the next hour, or I will possibly have another extra guest that I can feed. Now this has kind of locked me at this point, so I'm going to leave that. Now the next one I want to look at here is this Dream Snaps contest. Now what I recommend doing, obviously it depends entirely on how often you think you can play in a week and stuff like that. But where possible, when we've got the Star Path, if we're trying to do these Star Path tasks and stuff like that, I don't know if I'm going to pick up anything from here. Okay, we've got enough. I will just submit something random. I will just take a picture of my valley where I think there's some tags, and I will submit it. Now, the important thing is, if you do this, make sure you don't forget to do a dream snap later on. And I will just, during the kind of like the star path task, because usually it only takes me about a week to complete a star path. Realistically, with me grinding out, I'll get it done within a week. It's usually not too big of a deal. So I will try and focus on getting as many of those dream snap tasks done, and then when it comes to sort of the Sunday, the Monday, or the Tuesday, I'll try and make sure I do my proper dream snap then, so I don't overwrite it. If you're one of those people that does your dream snap on a Thursday or on a Wednesday afternoon, obviously you're going to stop yourself from being able to do this task, because you're going to have to overwrite whatever dream snap you've created. So I do recommend, if you are trying to grind out the star path as fast as possible, one of the best things to do is try and leave the final dream snap till the end of the week. Now here we go. Here's another thing that we can tie up. So we have the make small talk task, and we have to say bonjour to a tiny chef. So again, these are going to kind of cross up. We can go into Remy's. Okay, he's not in there, but he's here. We can talk to him. Got a question for me. There we go. We'll just say experiment. There we go. And not only have we got an extra one here for if we get any more daily duties, we've now done one of these, and we've done this one. Now, what I would try and do at this point is I'd either move on to doing the fishing, or check and see if I've got any more fruits for Snow White, which it does look like we've got. Okay, this is good as well. When you get those golden ones, it's so helpful. So that's another reason why technically you should try and stay full up on food and stuff like that, because you're more likely to get those kind of golden explosions. So again, uproot night thorns, catch fish somewhere peaceful. So that's the peaceful meadow. So whilst I'm here, I'm just going to quickly run around, grab a few of these night thorns, and then what I'll do is I'll head down into the peaceful meadow, pull up any night thorns I see en route, and then obviously pull up any night thorns in the peaceful meadow. Okay, I'm just going to quickly talk to Vanellope, because I know she's not going to crop up. So again, as I said before, if you have those guides, it can help. But that gets that make small talk task done. We need 2 more of the night thorns, and we still need some more fishing, but that's fine. We can keep fishing. Okay, so I've just done the fishing one, and we've got this tackle royal task come up. So you see I'm on 0 out of 10. Now, because I've let these build up, I'm going to click on these, and you'll see if we go back, we're on 3 out of 10. That's why when you don't have a current, like, tackle royal task, leave these when you do them. Don't close them off, because it will give you a head start when that crops up. So that's another thing you can do. Now, I think that's most of what I can talk about for now. I'm going to keep working on the star path, don't worry. I'm just going to cut for you guys and stuff like that. But basically, that's what I want to show you, and then we'll come back when I'm kind of maxed out for the day. But hopefully I've given you a bit of advice on sort of how generally I try and stack these. And then I'm going to kind of show you how I finish off for the day when I get to that point. So I am going to do a bit of a cut. So yeah. Okay, so it is now officially 11:15 from when I was filming earlier, just to give you an idea of timing. I think I said at one point it was about 10:30 when I first started, so that's how long I've spent doing the star path duties kind of thing, roughly. I'm at the point where I'm gonna have to finish for the day. Technically, this serve customers and Chez Remy could be continued if I was going to continue to wait sort of hours for the Chez Remy to tick by. But unfortunately, I'm not going to do that. It's kind of coming up to midnight. I want to go bed soon. So this is where I'm going to wrap up for today. Now, you'll see I have the Delighter robot. I can't do this because we're going to have to wait for his gifts to reset. The Bonjour to a Tiny Chef, again, conversations reset daily. So we've got to wait for that. The Stargazing Wayfinder gifts, again, we're going to have to wait for. And the Chat with a Demigod, we're going to have to wait for. So technically, if I had started playing earlier during the day, this is something I'd continue to do and then get finished. But just because of the time that I've started recording this at, based on, you know, factors outside of my control and stuff like that, this hasn't been done. But let's say this is where we wrap up for the day. You'll see I still have a complete boutique challenges. Now, some people say stack these so you can do them all in one go. As far as I'm concerned, if you get to this point of the day where you can't do any more tasks, do this, because it means you have a head start tomorrow. So tomorrow, if another boutique challenges come up, which it very well could, it could come up after whatever I do next. But it does mean that when I do the boutique challenge tomorrow, this one will be complete. So whilst you should stack, you should also try and maximize how much you've done in a day. So I will do this boutique challenge now, and then that will be kind of my end point for the day. We'll talk to Daisy. We'll see if we can finish this easily. See, did I complete the challenge? No, I haven't. Okay, right. Let's have a look and see what I've got to do. Okay, so we've got the ceiling, we've got the shoes, we've got Simple Wondrous Purple. We need Princess and the Frog. So what I'll do is I'll firstly go into furniture and have a look for a Princess and the Frog item. Obviously, you can narrow it down by using filters and stuff like that. But I will just place this down here. It hasn't ticked it off, so I know I need a clothing item. Now, obviously, something I could do is just edit, like, my outfit as it is. But what I'll do is I'll actually wear this outfit. And then what I'll do is I'll go into wardrobe, and then I will look for something that is Princess and the Frog themed. That way I'm making sure I'm not erasing any tags that might be used from this outfit. That's just generally something that I advise. So we'll interact, we'll edit it, and now she's got the Princess and the Frog item, and you can see everything is ticked off. So then we can go talk to Daisy. We can check if we've done the challenge, which we know we have because technically we've got all those ticks, and there we go, it's all done. Jobs are good. And so that would wrap up my progress for the day. So I have spent, let's say, about an hour on my star path from the very first task to get to this point where I'm time locked, and that's not too bad. An hour of gaming is not too bad. Now, I have just solely focused on star path in that time, so obviously depending on the time you have available, you know, if you're limited kind of thing. But yeah, this is what I recommend doing. As I said, if you've watched other creator videos that go through what the tasks are, if you've read the articles, if you've used the apps, as I said, something I could do to prep would be to actually plant the 50 cotton and the 50 canola that I need, which will show up in the tasks, I think, tomorrow at this point. That is something that I would recommend doing. A lot of the ways you can speed up your star path progression is through prep work. Prep work is key. So I guess to kind of summarize some of my suggestions on what you can do, first one being prep as much as you can. I do have videos that I do which are kind of like things to do before an update, and yeah, those videos might seem repetitive, but there's a reason they're repetitive. So things like saving up your night fawns, things like stockpiling on ingredients so you can make your recipes you need to make, making sure you've got memory orbs so that you can get those for the orb challenges, making sure if you've got Tiana's like auto cookers or anything like that, you have set up 10 to 15 of each of an appetizer, a dessert, and a main at a 5-star. That is so helpful to have because it just means that you progress through these tasks so much faster. You know, clicking autofill 10 times is obviously slower than if you just click once to claim a stack of 10 dishes that are already pre-cooked kind of thing. So prep work is absolutely kind of key. If you have tasks that are sort of more open-ended and vague to gift to any villagers or talk to any villagers, try and wait till there's a specific villager that comes up with a set task to tie those together. Leave your boutique challenges or anything that is only able to be done once a day. Try and leave them for the end of the day when you're wrapping up and things like that, just to make sure there's crossover. And obviously things like Dreamlight duties. If you don't have a Dreamlight duty task in the menu, try and save them in here when they get done. Don't click on them just yet. So again, that gives you that head start. Those are the key things I would say for being able to rush through the star path quickly if you're trying to do it. As I said, from what I've heard, this star path is quite easy to progress through anyway. But obviously, if it happens that they bring us another challenging star path again, as they have done before, I think these are going to help. Especially since we have these bonus rewards, so things do tend to take a bit longer and stuff like that. This is just my general advice. I do hope it's helped. I hope it's helpful. That's the main thing I want to come with this. Obviously, play the game exactly as you want. Play how you want. Go through the star path at the speed you kind of want within limits, because obviously there is a deadline. That's if you want to get everything, of course. You can all play in your own style, but this is for people who are perhaps struggling getting through star paths, who perhaps need a bit of advice on how they can manage it when they are short on time, which there are plenty of people who are like that. People who work full-time jobs, people who work multiple jobs, people who have kids, families and things like that, people that have to care for others and stuff like that. Like, there's lots of reasons why you might not have a lot of time to dedicate to a game. And as I said, we've kind of reached the max of what I can do within about an hour of gaming. So long as you have that kind of, you know, couple of hours a week to dedicate, I think it can go a long way. And as I said, that prep work is absolutely key. So I do hope you found this helpful. If you did, don't forget to give it a like. If you have any other tips or suggestions, leave them in the comments down below. Let's help each other out as a community. Let's share the advice and everything like that, so people can truly make the most of this game. But yeah, I hope you found this helpful. Don't forget to subscribe for more Disney Dreamlight Valley content, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys!